the hallway that's sitting there at all times, making sure that people follow quarantine protocol. It's pretty intense.
Yeah. See, we are waiting on Frank, I think, and the board is here.
Frank dialed in for a second.
Let me make sure he's not talking about it. Shoot him a text message real quick. Thanks for bearing with us, everyone, while we get through the tech hurdles of getting everybody on the call. Frank, but we lost Mr. Tanner. Reach out to John.
Hello, everybody. Sorry I'm late.
No worries. Seems we're having trouble getting everybody in the call today. He says he's having trouble. We can go ahead and get started and he'll join when he can. And April will try and mark the time for you when he joins. All right, so welcome everyone. This is the DMS Board of Directors meeting, also known as the Valley of the Sun Waldorf Education Association. Welcome, we're glad to have you here. We have 22 participants this evening, including our 8 panelists so far, and 14 attendees. Welcome, we are glad to have you. And if you would like, you may register your attendance clicking the link in the meeting agenda. That's optional, but if you are ever interested in running for being on the board, logging that attendance is important because attending 2 meetings is a requirement of joining the board. All right, so I will say the opening verse, and Dan, if you could be ready to say the closing verse from Down Under, that would be great. All right, so the true aim of education is to awaken real powers of perception and judgment in relation to life and living. For only such an awakening can lead to true freedom. That's from Rudolf Steiner. So I am Gregory Schneider. I'm the board president, and let's go around and introduce ourselves, starting with Kirsten.
Hi, Kirsten Gabina, board member.
Nellie,
Nellie Grosenbacher, board member.
Danielle,
Hi, good evening. Danielle Martinez, board member.
Michelle,
Hi, good evening. Michelle Kratzer, Parent Council Chair.
April,
April Sauer, board secretary.
Dan,
Dan Franks, board treasurer.
Frank,
Frank Marizio. Hello, everybody. Executive Director.
and last but not least, we're just going around and introducing ourselves. John. Like you might still be getting connected to the audio. Also with us is John Tanner, a board member, and also the 7th grade teacher at the school. All right, so we have a few financial things to discuss. We'll talk about COVID-19 and the current status of the rules around mandating masks and vaccines, and what we are allowed to do as a school under current law in Arizona. We'll hear from Frank about updates going on at the school heading into the first week. We'll talk about our contemplation exercise that had its last scheduled formal meeting yesterday, and we'll hear from Michelle about parent council, and then we'll approve our minutes. So let's dive right into it, starting with an enrollment update right before the first week of school.
Is that for me?
It is, yes.
Okay. Well, it was a tough week for enrollment, guys. We lost about 18 people this week. Most of them really were just moving out of state. Like the Franks family who took children to Australia, there were several families like that that moved because of employment or to take care of a parent in a grandparent in another state. And so we lost a lot. The good news is we had, 16 or 18 people on a wait list. So as of today, we're down to 288, but we have 16 people on the wait list that were waiting for a piece of paper or more to take their place, which would bring us back up to the 299, 300 range. And yesterday, Bonnie and Dr. Darian gave a tour to 11 new students. So we don't know what will come of that. I just never will understand in my 35th year why people wait till 3 days before school to go try and register. It just makes no sense to me, but that's what happens. And so this last couple days here, Crystal and Deb are going to be very busy finishing that paperwork up to get everyone enrolled before Wednesday so that they can attend school. So that's our update on enrollment. Again, a little bit of a curve going up and down, but we had enough people on the wait list to backfill, which is good news.
Also, somewhat of good news is that you had the foresight to budget us at, I think, 287.
That's correct.
So, we're all, even with that pitfall, we're still slightly above budget in terms of enrollment. So we're doing okay.
That's correct.
Right. So let's talk about the fundraising proposal we got from Melissa Sutton and her company. Danielle, I know you've been the primary point of contact there. Do you want to walk us through where we are? And I think April circulated the questions and answers we got back from Melissa.
Yes, and she answered back with those questions, and we wanted to get all on the same page of what we actually want to start with. Give me a moment to pull up that one as well. for using her services, she gave us a breakdown of if we wanted to do the percentage, and we were comparing it to her last quote, but she's got more time to dedicate for us, considering what time frame we would do if it were going to be in the spring or early summer, and with what we wanted to actually hit the road running with. If we wanted to do the campaign funding, if we wanted to also involve her with any tax credit support, or if we wanted to just have a one-time event. But I don't think the 7 of us decided what would be an ideal event to host and or bring up to the festival committee, as well as parent council support.
Yeah, I don't think I think we're still trying to pick between, if we did an event, what would it be? Or should we do I think she called it a sustaining fund. Which I think in the past we had something similar. We called it Bridge the Gap. So it would be something more like that.
And she did make it clear that she would provide training and any of the marketing materials, but it would be up to us to implement or give her some manpower for those resources. And going off memory, one moment. There was one other item. She wasn't providing any sponsorship. We were asking if she was bringing any other from her contacts, and that seemed like that was not going to happen. I thought that was a big draw initially because she had mentioned that she had worked with the Make-A-Wish Foundation and had contacts with donors. So I thought she would be contributing in some fashion, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But vendors, yes, and venue resources.
So what do you think, Danielle?
I'm torn because when I saw how well we can come together as a community to bring events like that together, I don't necessarily felt like we needed to lean on someone. But again, we haven't done anything on a larger scale either. And with my interaction with Marianne, that was fun, and it was easier to concentrate on other areas. But again, I did feel like that could have been done with just us. But the facilitator part was nice to get some coaching around that. And again, one extra person to do extra items was very useful. So if we don't have the support from the community, then it would be ideal to use her services. But I'm a little torn. Yes, it's a big scale item and we could use some coaching and mentoring on that. But I do think we have a lot of resources here that would be worthwhile.
Other thoughts?
It doesn't feel like the slam dunk it initially felt like, as far as like a obvious thing to do, and now it seems like it might be. I'm not sure how much additional benefit it would bring outside of self-organized events. I'm feeling the same way as Danielle, or similar.
I am also. I feel like potentially maybe we could bid out other people that do these types of services and see what else is out there as an idea. But I don't know. I feel the same way, Danielle. I'm like, can we just pull this off ourselves and save ourselves some money? So I'm kind of tossed up about it as well.
My thoughts about it are I was disappointed that she wasn't bringing some sponsorship with her, and she wasn't specific about the training she would give us, because I really wanted to know, like, we're not great at having a big crowd show up. That's not just parents who are there at every event. That's what we really need help with. But if she does have that leadership and that training to provide to us, then this is a step in the right direction. And I do feel like we're lacking in terms of the leadership to pull off a large fundraiser. We just haven't done it as a board. I haven't seen it done in probably years. So I feel like we do need kind of a point person if she's got the experience and the information. And like you said, Danielle, in particular to tax credits and a campaign to provide us with some materials and even more training if this is what's worked for me, then I think it's worth the bit of expense that it will take to just get us off the ground and running and do something to bring some money in. And maybe after this year, we realize, okay, we can do this on our own. We know what the plan is. We've seen it work and we can go from there. But so far, we've not done that. So I don't know. It's scary to put that money in, not knowing what's going to come of it. But at the same time, we haven't been successful doing it on our own. So I feel like we need some sort of professional help to get us on the ground running.
So would it be a good idea to see if we could actually draft up a committee and tell her we've got these people to do these particular items. So can we take this off your plate, or can we discuss negotiating down your price, because we already know we're going to have these support people here to do these activities.
Didn't she say she would be flexible if we provided some resources that her rate would reflect that as well?
Yes, she did.
Yeah.
But we don't have a written proposal for that.
Right.
And Michelle, is it fair to pick on you? Would that be, or April, let me go back to you for just a second. I'm thinking this is a school-wide event and we would want everyone's participation, and we're one of those supporting governing bodies to bring this event together. Is that a true statement? Are we all on the same page for that? Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle, could that be something then we could collaborate with together? And would you feel parent council would want to see what services are like with a professional event planner?
I would like to see how it is with an event planner. I know with the last one, I felt like, okay, we kind of did that. Like we've done those type of things. Yeah. But that sponsorship is really what I'm like, but like April said, we do have trouble bringing in people from outside of our regular community. With Winter Fair, we do get people who don't go to our school, but they know about it and they come every year, that type of thing. And sometimes we'll get people from other Waldorf schools also at Winter Fair. But again, getting those people who don't know about it, how do we do that? It's the advertisement that we struggle with almost every time.
And I would want to incorporate our students in some type of entertainment fashion, but I don't know when's a good time to say we have the solid plan. Let's find out what faculty and administration support are willing to collaborate on that plan as well. Are we all feeling like an offsite gala dinner event? Can we get a pool of who wants what?
Well, I guess I'm going the other direction. Like, I think an event would be great, but we know how to do events on campus ourselves, like several people have said. But yeah, if Melissa isn't going to be able to add the sponsorship piece, I'm not sure how much value add she's going to bring unless it's the marketing, in a broader sense. So my thought was, one of the things we've heard repeatedly as a board is that it seems like we only hear from you when you're asking for money. And one of the things Melissa put in her answer to one of our questions about the sustaining fund was, I want to help you develop a marketing campaign to your community that is not just money asks. That's like frequent updates about what's going on at the school, you know, and I'm guessing that would include pictures and, you know, like a flyer and, or, you know, a pretty looking email, so that people feel good about the school and are actually motivated to give, rather than hearing nothing other than, you know, updates from teachers, or, you know, but not kind of the big overall picture, reminders of why we're here, the good work that we're doing, our beautiful campus, you know, all of these things. So my thought was, if we can get that kind of sustaining fund going, that could then enable us to hire a development director internally who could then help us, you know, launch full-time, you know, bigger events and, you know, push for those sponsorships and have time to make those kinds of phone calls. And to me, that seems like the more sustainable approach of, you know, where we're leveraging some new money coming in to then add that talent that's should pay for itself many times over, by being able to coordinate events and sponsors and, you know, donors, and actually do that on a full-time basis.
So having her help us like establish structured, regular community engagement effectively outside of fundraising.
Right. Because I know John has said this frequently too, is, you know, our PR as a school has not been good over the last few years, and maybe not for a long time. And there's no reason for it other than we haven't really invested the resources in sending out good communications frequently and timely and in a professional way consistently. So we could do that and bring in money at the same time, all as part of the same campaign. That's, to me, that solves some pieces that have been missing. I am mindful, of course, that it would be really fun to have an offsite gala with lots of people coming and raise a bunch of money. I'm just not sure we are there yet in terms of being able to pull that off by, you know, May, say.
There's also conversations generally around events like that and how inclusive they are, because sometimes the events that are off-site do exclude members of the closer local community. But that's a different kind of conversation.
Gregory?
Yes.
If I could chime in on the gala, I will tell you, many staff members have talked positively about that type of an event. And while I understand it may not be as big as we want, sometimes an event like that, as you know, you get money by giving something for the night. So people would be getting some form of dinner, dancing, fun. It's a night out. It's date night. It's a good time. On that side of the coin, that's a good way to fundraise, because people will remember that as an annual event that can happen all the time. A lot like our winter fair. It is successful because it's become an annual event that people have so much fun at. The key here is, can we have a gala without having to put a lot of money out for a event hall? And can we get the food donated from somebody? So if the costs aren't a lot, the income can really be high. And I know that the people on my campus who've been to galas in the past have really told me time and time again, that was so fun, Mr. Marizio. It would be great if we can have that again. And so I don't want to discount that gala idea yet, because I do hear people humming about it. That's all. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, well, I would love to be able to do both if we could. My hesitation is I don't have a good sense of, how much money a gala could bring in versus, a sustained campaign over the course of a year that's designed to bridge a specific gap. Plus the gala has a lot more capital outlay potentially. I mean, if we got the venue donated and the food donated, then maybe not. But I would like to generate excitement somehow, whether that's frequent communications, hyping the school, or if it's an annual event, another annual event that we can do that gets people, gets those positive memories and associations.
I can see that there's hesitation, and I am hesitant on both sides as well. It's a large pill to swallow if we feel that we were not going to get the full service that we felt we needed. But I also agree with April. I think that if a gala is something that we could pull off, and I think that if we were to do a gala on campus, we could pull it off. I think that we can switch our gears and maybe utilize her more in a training sense on marketing correctly, community outreach, and sustaining funds, and use that as as a point of where we then next year feel more comfortable going into this by ourselves.
Are we sure that this is the right
I'm for
person
trying
to
something
get
new.
us there? I mean, I feel like we all agree that we wanted the sponsorships and some of the relationships. When I go to places like the MEM or Desert Botanical Gardens, I mean, they've got their act together from a donorship perspective and funds, and it's a different type of organization, but I feel like I think she's really great at certain things, so please don't hear me say that in a negative way, but I almost kind of want someone that's more prescriptive. Like, this is how you get from A to B. Here's the thresholds. Here's how we're doing it. I have venues. I've worked with other valet services. I've worked with other caterers. I can get us discounts. It already kind of has more of that established net to kind of plug us into. It just almost kind of feels a little grassrootsy to me. And I feel like we already do that ourselves. So then I'm kind of tossed up of what that benefit will be. So that's just, again, my 2 cents.
I wonder if that's like an individual versus an agency kind of doing this work, because the amount of effort and coordination that goes into, like, what I'm saying, Kristen, like where it requires like 5 or 6 people, not necessarily working full time, but like a certain higher level of coordination and whatnot. But I don't think that it's not possible for somebody to do that at an individual level. It just seems more difficult.
Do we want to try to get a couple other bids and see what that looks like, either from individual people or just so we have something to compare it to? I'm not saying, Melissa's out, but maybe just see what else might be out there for options that we just don't know about.
I mean, always getting more bids is always helpful, I think, just to know. But I think we need to, for it to actually be a helpful exercise for us, I think we need to know what we actually want to do as a board. Because if we're going to, I think part of the problem with what we've gotten from Melissa so far is we haven't really given her clear direction on what we want. If we had said, we want to do a big gala, we want it to be like a date night for parents and faculty and staff and people outside the community, and we want to have a charity auction, help us put this together and market it. That would be a very clear thing that she could respond to and either tell us how to do it or tell us she can't do it. But we haven't really given her that direction. So I almost feel like we should decide what it is we want to do as a board and then say, okay, do we want Melissa to do that, or do we want to get more bids and then decide? But actually give people direction on what it is we're looking for them to do. So, I mean, I've heard a lot of enthusiasm for a gala or an offsite event from, I think, a majority of folks. You know, so that would, I think, be a clear way to do it if we wanted to get other bids. I'm open to other thoughts. I think we just need to, you know, decide what it is we want to do this year. Are we trying to make it a sustaining fund, or are we happy with our budget as it exists and we're comfortable with that, and we feel like we have the resources to put into some type of bigger event, you know, one-time event that's also fundraising.
Does everyone generally agree that we want that structured, sustained community engagement part, at least, and then potentially the gala as well? I mean, but like that first bit for sure, and that would be a certain hourly rate from her that she could contribute on a monthly basis, and then we can decide tentatively to maybe keep researching, looking into the gala and getting additional bids. That would give her more direction, at least.
I think I prefer that, simply because the just focusing on the community engagement and the marketing and the sustaining fund gives us something to work toward, and it's right now. We could start now as soon as we tell her, yes, this is the way we want to go. If we choose gala now and only gala, we're not going to know the results of that until when? June? And then we've spent a whole year not knowing what we can do. Whereas with this one, it's right now, it's immediate. We can start to get training. Maybe we'll see the fruits of that and then realize, okay, this is great. We do want to do a gala, and we want to do it with her, or we want to do it with somebody else, or we want to do it by ourselves. I just think getting on top of it now and doing something now is important. Because money disappears fast at schools.
Mr. Tanner, any thoughts on your end? Haven't heard from you yet.
Yeah, I'm just, my apologies for being late. I'm just getting caught up on the conversation. So the question here is that Melissa's services we're trying to figure out how to best apply them, and so the question is the gala, and I know Danielle has been to a gala, I do believe, and they're pretty fun. I don't know whether, Michelle, do you think that's, or are you hearing a lot of gala excitement on your end?
Yes, a lot of like community engagement is what I'm hearing from parents. So get-togethers and that type of thing are popular.
Okay, so it sounds like what Dan has described is a mix. So yes, we want to point ourselves towards a big event, a gala, but we need to have more than that on the ground level, so to speak. Is that Michelle? Is that what I'm hearing? Is that?
I mean, to me, that sounds good. And I have heard the same thing as Gregory was stating before. You know, all we hear about is money, money, money. give me money. So that sustainability, that training would be good. But also bringing the community together with events is also
Okay.
a good thing. So both would be ideal, in my opinion.
Okay. So as you know, a gala is a lot of work.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, and mostly tears that go into those events of those types. They're beautiful tears, but still, it's a lot. So I guess we're trying to warm up here and engage a community, and it can't always be the same 5 people doing it.
Right.
That's not a good thing. We want to spread that around and give everyone an opportunity. So Dan, yes, I like your plan, and congratulations on Down Under, and thank you for. I know there's a big time difference there. I think it's tomorrow where you are. So thank you, sir, for doing that. Gregory, I don't know if that's helpful or not. I think we need to have a little bit of both. So that's the best I can give you right at this moment on that.
Appreciate it. So I think everybody's had a chance to say what they want to say. I think at this point it makes sense to vote on something and see what we want to do. So I will move that we engage Melissa Sutton for developing a sustaining fund for us, and all the marketing that goes along with that, and community engagement. And that we also seek other bids for someone to help us put together a large-scale off-site gala.
That sounded great. Is that an official motion for voting?
Yes, so I just need somebody to second it.
Okay.
I'd be happy to second.
Second.
Okay. Well, we're tied, Danielle. I yield to you.
Thank you. All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor? That is unanimous. The motion carries. All right. I think that is good news and progress. So thank you, everybody. All right. So April and Kirsten, I think you have been discussing establishing a school spirit store of some kind. And do you have an update on that tonight, or should we table that one for a future meeting?
Sorry, yes, I'm still catching up there. Wait, one last thing. So we've made a decision, but are we asking Danielle to contact her? And because we need an action there. Someone actually needs to talk to Melissa and say, hey, we want you to do this.
Good point. Danielle, are you up for that?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, I'm still catching up. Yes, so a spirit store. So after I made that recommendation, I contacted Kirsten and said, do you want to help me? This sounds like a lot of work. And she said, yes. So we sort of divvied up the tasks of doing some research on our own and filled out a spreadsheet together. We just both looked at a few different sites that do this. So we looked at ease of use of the website, the kickback that it would allow, the types of items they would sell, the ease of use of the website. And so we're kind of down to one that's my favorite and one that's her favorite. And so the next step is to go ahead and create the, unpublished school store website and see how that goes. And then we'll compare the two and make a move from there. So at the next meeting, we're hoping to have those up and running so you guys can take a look. And maybe one will just be, blow us all away, and we could just present that one and say, this is the one we recommend, and we can get it up on the website. Anything to add to that, Kirsten?
The only thing I'll add to it is we are still really mindful that we want to be more Waldorf geared, and a lot of these stores are not, obviously. So we are still mindful of that. This summer, I researched 4 different Waldorf stores, school stores on campus on the East Coast, and got some really great ideas, made some great contacts. There's a lot to be considered about, more of a Waldorf type of a school store. So it's something that we're kind of kicking around, that we need to give more thought, and obviously, get help from Frank and his thoughts. But I did want to just toss that out there, that we are still mindful of, it's not just a tchotchke store. We are still trying to incorporate, all of the great things from Waldorf stores and school stores. That's a bit of a longer term project than the Spirit store.
Thank you both. That sounds like an incredible amount of work, but also something that will be extremely valuable, especially in allowing people to show how enthusiastic they are about our school, which would be great. Right. Unless anyone has questions about the store.
A question. Are we also mindful that we're not taking away from any of class funding that may also want to do some similar items?
Yes. So I sent out an email, or rather Deb sent it out for me to teachers and staff to say, what are you interested in doing? So we're not stepping on any toes. And I didn't get any responses. And Kirsten and I talked about this because I know that previously teachers have done specific things for their classes. But everything that we're going to be doing and offering in the store is going to be just our school logo. We're going to keep it very simple. And I know previously everything that's been done by classes has been individual artwork from students. And so I don't feel like we'll be stepping on any toes in that regard. It'll just be a completely different thing. And if we hear otherwise from teachers where they say, hey, maybe take this off the school store for a while because we're going to be selling XYZ, we can do that very easily. So I haven't heard any concerns about it, but we did ask teachers.
And it was mainly the sport coaches that were doing. It was mainly the sports coaches that were doing the Spirit stores. So during those seasons, but I don't know that we've had anyone step up quite yet to run those events. But that's usually who had been raising funds for their own for the sports.
And we could run those through this store also, like if they wanted to do jerseys or something specific. I mean, we can offer more than one logo and work with them to make sure that those proceeds are going to sports as well. So it doesn't need to be like a them versus us. These stores are really like they accordion really well to what you want to do. So if something does come up very specific, I'm sure we can find a way to, get things worked out.
What print stores were you looking into? And then are you able to pick and choose the items so that there's not so many non-Waldorf items available?
We had a list of, 6 that we did more like heavy research on?
Let me pull it up. I got it right here.
Okay.
Okay, I'm already unmuted. We looked at Apparel Now, Spirit Wear, Printful. I'm going to murder this word. Tarot's Gift Shop, Impact Spirit Wear, and Custom Ink.
So that then the idea is that you guys have a design and then choose like a couple different t-shirts or coffee mugs that then are available to the public.
Yes. And it's all done online, so we don't have to keep inventory at our school. But if we wanted to buy bulk of something, you know, to sell at Winter Fair or something like that, we could. But people could order things by themselves and it would be shipped to their home. But there are lots of good options. And we Kirsten and I were talking about this where we didn't want to go like just something you'd find in Oriental Trading, you know, that would just fall apart or be cheap, or, you know, we want sustainable things. We want, you know, so one of the sites that stood out to me had, you know, vacuum sealed stainless steel water bottles, and that'd be awesome, you know, and just things of that nature, canvas bags, you know, just things that I think people could get use out of, and that would fit in with our community.
And the items that are presented are endless. It's really a struggle.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you again, Kirsten and April, for digging into that and working on that so well. Anything else related to cash flow, profit and loss, or the balance sheet that anyone wants to discuss? I don't have any on this, but it's an open item on our agenda. Okay. Let's move on to COVID-19. So I'm going to give some background and then we can have a discussion. So last school year, things were very different from a legal regulatory standpoint than they are today. So last year, schools were closed by order of the state. Everyone went home. The state empowered schools to offer online classes even when they didn't have the licensing that's otherwise required to offer online classes, which spring of 2020 we did in kind of a crazy way, holding multiple rabbits out of a very small hat. And then towards the fall of 2020, we really got our act together in terms of online offerings. We still had authority from the state to offer online, and we also had the flexibility to decide whether we were going to be online or in person or a hybrid, which we debated heavily and switched between the two as the year progressed until March 15th of this year, when the governor took it out of our hands and said, everybody's going back in person. The end, essentially. And after that, so we did. And during that time, the school was still required by the state again to have a mitigation plan in place that, you know, would include things like what do you do when somebody gets sick with COVID, you know, what kind of social distancing are you going to be practicing, you know, mask wearing, you know, and you're supposed to be monitoring the caseload in your surrounding area. And then, so we made it through the school year with that. Then in June, all of those requirements for having a mitigation strategy and having the flexibility to tell people what you were going to do in the school for that mitigation strategy ended. And in its place, we got a executive order along with, I believe, some funding legislation for schools that prohibited public schools, including charter schools like ours and universities, from mandating masks as a condition of attendance at the school and from mandating vaccines as a condition of attendance at the school. And there is also currently no requirement to have any kind of mitigation plan or strategy in place. So the current legal landscape and regulatory landscape is that we are not allowed to to require anyone to wear a mask, and we are not allowed to require anyone to get a vaccine. And there is no mandate to us as a school that we develop a mitigation plan. That wouldn't include those things. So that's where we are. I know in the last few days, we've gotten a variety of emails from various parts of the school expressing opinions on masks, both directions. It continues to be a hot topic. But as far as what we can require people to do, our hands are really tied as a board. So that's where we are. That said, a lot of the, from what I have read, and I welcome your thoughts when I'm done talking, the risks of getting COVID and getting severe illness from COVID are significantly higher if you have not been vaccinated. A significant portion of our school, children aged 12 and under, are not even eligible to get vaccinated. The flip side of that is it seems like, at least in the past, COVID has not had a big of an impact on younger children who are better able to get it and recover from it quickly and not have kind of the severe illness that grown-ups have, or even older kids. Although there is some evidence that the Delta variant is changing that calculus. So what I'm interested to hear about is, even though we can't require masks, do we want to make some type of recommendation for mask use for unvaccinated people, or for everyone? The CDC, I should have said this earlier, says that in schools, everybody should be wearing a mask indoors, vaccinated or not vaccinated. That's the CDC's position. Especially in high transmission areas like the one we are currently in. And I can pull up the statistics, but currently in Maricopa County, we're sitting at something like 167 cases per 100,000 with a 12.5% positivity rate. So, which under the old rubric we operated under last school year would have meant we should be doing virtual only education. Obviously, that's not an option now. But my question is, do we want to at least recommend to our student body and our teachers to follow the CDC recommendation of wearing masks indoors? And now I open it up to all of you.
I'm sure it's no surprise that I would be vouching for strongly recommending people wear masks indoors. Even the vaccinated with Pfizer and Moderna, it's only 84% effective against the Delta variant, which is like 80% of the spread right now of the COVID virus. And then those people are actually able to carry and transmit the disease asymptomatically, whereas in the past it was less likely to be that was the case. So although vaccinated people won't necessarily be hospitalized or get terribly sick from it anymore, which is great, they can still spread it to the unvaccinated, and it can also spread obviously through children and other people. So seems like a common sense. We also like people will comment that the city of Phoenix has decided to mandate indoor mask wearing. They also told the state to go ahead and sue us, basically, if you want to make us not do this. And I don't know that we're in a position where we can tell the state to sue Desert Marigold and require masks indoors. So
it would be my strong preference that we not invite a lawsuit from the state as a board.
Agreed.
I was looking out, over my notes that I took a while ago. We got the third handbook in June. This is from the U.S. Department of Education for COVID-19. It's this June of 2021. And there's a section that talks about safe practices for in-person learning. And this is, going out to schools. So administrators and boards, and it says, so these are the best practices: offering and promoting COVID-19 vaccination, consistent and correct use of masks, physical distancing, hand washing, all the things that we were doing last year. But the part that stuck out to me was promoting COVID-19 vaccination and promoting mask wearing. It goes on to delve into those sections, saying that administrators and board can also play a key role in providing accurate information on the safety and effectiveness of vaccine and build vaccine confidence by acknowledging and addressing their community's concerns. Then in the section about masks, when people who are not fully vaccinated correctly wear a mask, they protect others as well as themselves. Consistent and correct mask use by people who are not fully vaccinated is especially important indoors and in a crowded setting when physical distancing cannot be maintained. Administrators should encourage people who are not fully vaccinated to wear a mask consistently and correctly. In areas with mixed populations of people who are vaccinated and unvaccinated, they may consider requiring masks. Of course, this is before our governor had given us that executive order. But all that to say, this is what we're being asked to do as a board, is to promote vaccinations and information about them, promote the correct use of masks. So I definitely agree that we should be encouraging this and sending out this messaging. And this is coming to us, to administrations, to the board, saying this is what you are asked to do in this position, regardless of your personal stance on it. So I thought that was important to bring up, because it's the reading that we're being asked to do, and it's the task that we're being asked to do. And the other thing that I wanted to bring up, Dan was talking a bit about transmission and how it's easier now. But we've gotten all kinds of guidance throughout all of this. But recently, the guidelines from CDC, American Academy of Pediatrics, Arizona Department of Health and Safety, Maricopa County Department of Public Health have all updated their guidelines to include universal indoor masking for all teachers, staff, students, and visitors to K-12 schools, regardless of vaccination status. So, it's all saying the same thing, but I think it's our duty to encourage our community any way we can and do our best to let people know these are the best practices.
I think that's excellent verbiage. I'm glad that it's promote, and I do feel it should be optional, but highly recommended.
I think it's obvious. I agree as well.
I agree as well, 100%.
I agree that it should be optional as well. I think that other than Phoenix Union, it seems like all of the other surrounding school districts in our area are also doing optional. I don't think that we have a right, if it was to go the other way, I don't think that we have a right to ask people for their medical information and disclose if they're vaccinated or not, whether they're children or adults. And I know that that's a pressing issue right now. And I think that it puts us all in a really, big predicament as to what to do. But I've just been researching in regards to the levels of suicide that have gone up over the year, and anxiety and depression, and the importance that I think that kids have the social component of, there's a whole component of even younger kids and needing to see and hear their teachers properly. And I think that the emotional components need to be taken into play as well, and how that plays a factor into all of this. So I'm for optional, which is what we have right now.
Yeah, well, and to be clear, Nellie, mandating masks is not even an option for us legally. So it's just, do we want to take the step of promoting, recommending, supporting the use of masks while saying it's optional?
I think that we need to allow parents to make the decision on how they want to parent their children and make that decision for them. I don't think it's up for us to say what you should be doing. I think that it's a parent's right to make that decision for their child, whether we recommend it or not. I think that I just don't think that it's something that we should do. I think that the parents need to make that decision.
Mr. Tanner, would you like to weigh in?
Here we are with this word game again, promote or recommend, reminiscent of another conversation I had recently. But I think that we need to, I think we could say promote, or we endorse what the CDC recommends. Legally, we can't enforce that. But I guess my biggest concern is for comfort level of the children. Some will wear masks and some others will not. And I certainly want those, a great deal of respect for whatever the decisions that the parents are making for their children. That would be a big concern of mine. And there is a little bit of an issue with putting teachers in the position of their level of enforcement, around that. A parent is going to call and say, hello, Mrs. Smith, did my child wear the mask all day? And Mrs. Smith might have 30 children, and she's like, I think so. And then, Mrs. Smith may not like that answer. And so I don't want to put the teachers in the kind of a uncomfortable enforcement. I just want to make people aware of that, because that's where the rubber's going to hit the road. But I do believe that we have to be pretty sober about this. I think it's a very fluid situation. I think this conversation probably is going to be held every 2 weeks as we move forward. And there may be changes. Gregory, we know that it can happen just like that.
Yes, we do.
So I like the idea of optional at this particular moment in time, but I may change my story in 2 weeks depending on the way things go.
I liked a couple things you said there, Mr. Tanner, and one is we need to have compassion for the kids, and we don't want them to feel stigmatized, whatever it is their particular families are choosing. And we also don't want to put an additional burden on our teachers to try to play the enforcer for
Of
families.
course.
Because it's really, we don't want that to be their focus. So, and Nellie, I think you were driving at something similar there too, about, being the family's choice and really being compassionate for the effect that mask wearing might have on children. So, all right, any other thoughts on this?
Just a quick question, Gregory. You had asked on whether we should promote. I mean, what does that look like or sound like? Is that just a statement in a board meeting? Is that literature on campus? Is that one poster on the building?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking it would be something like a school-wide message that goes out before school starts that says, here are the recommendations from the CDC and Maricopa County and ADE. The school supports each of these recommendations. Ultimately, it's up to you as a family to decide what you want to do. Your choice will be supported either way. But also to point out Mr. Tanner's point, but teachers are not going to be enforcing your family's choice. But we will support you in whatever you choose. Yes, Mr. Tanner.
Could we hear from Frank Marizio what his wisdom on this topic is, please?
I love it.
You're killing me, John. You're killing me.
I'm sorry.
I was quiet for 15 minutes for the first time in my life.
We want you to bring some optimism, sir.
Well, remember, I'm a trained educator, and I don't like the political realm at all. And I've been taught all my life as an educator to seek win-wins. You know what good decisions are? Decisions that end in a win-win for people. There's no win-win here, guys. If we decide to not mask up, people will be mad at us for not masking up. If we decide to mask up or to go online, people will be mad at us for doing that. You see, this country is split 50-50, and our school is no different. Now, I understand, those of you who know me, I believe in masks. I believe in the CDC. I believe in the science. I really do. I'm vaccinated. I have no problem believing that and sharing that. But I also have to accept that there are people out there who do not believe it the way I do. And whether I like it or not, I have to respect that. And right now, we don't have the law on our side. So Gregory is correct. There's an executive order that says you can't do this and you can't do that. And by the way, as of an hour ago, we're up to 9 school districts in the state who are openly going to defy the governor. 7 of them are inside Phoenix. Phoenix Union, Phoenix L, Roosevelt, Baltz, Creighton, a couple of others, and Tucson. Tucson Unified. You will notice those are inner city congregations, if you will, where we know there seems to be higher contact rates because of the density of how many people are there. So it is not 1 school district. It is 9 right now. And there is a lawsuit from a teacher in Phoenix Union. In the end, that lawsuit is going to decide everything. If the judge says schools, the governor has no right to make this executive order, it's anti what health says, then we'll see schools make different decisions. But if the lawsuit and the judge says, schools, you're wrong, the governor has the right, then we're going to see those executive orders hold. And now the big issue for all of us is, will this take 2 years for this lawsuit to play out, or will this happen in the next 3 weeks? Mr. Tanner, I want school to return to normal. I want kids to have fun. Teachers are so excited to be back in a classroom with children. And yet I'm nervous, just like you are, because you're a teacher, that every day we see new news that just scares us and says, oh my gosh, I don't know if we can go backwards. I don't know if we can. And yet we might have to, like you just said, in 2 weeks, we may be in a situation like LA or Florida or Alabama and have to shut down. I don't want that to happen. To focus on the topic that April brought up, recommend or promote is different than just saying you can do what you want. Promoting means we're taking a side. And so I don't know. Should we take a side? Should the side be what I decide for my family and allow that to be for what other families decide? Because to promote takes a side. And so I'm always looking for a win-win, and I don't know how to get a win-win out of COVID. I just don't. I'm dumbfounded, you guys, and I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you. I'm just trying to think clear on all of this.
Thank you for that. And I think that's an important distinction about promoting versus just saying it's up to you. And you're right. I've definitely learned over the last year and a half, there is no win-win here. But we have to do what we think is right. And sometimes that means it's not going to be a win-win situation, or it's not going to be a majority win situation. All right. Other thoughts?
I have one other thought, and this is just one way that allowed me to help, in thinking about Mr. Tanner and our teachers and what they're faced with when they come into a school situation where masks are optional and there are kids wearing them and their kids aren't. And I thought for a really long time, like, what can I equate this to in respect for the teacher, having it not fall on them? Because, realistically, as our kids get older, as soon as they walk out of the door, we don't really have control over what they're doing. I think that we all know that. And I feel like it was put best where I could comprehend and come to the conclusion that when we send our kids to school, we don't rely on the teacher to make sure that they eat their lunch. It's not the teacher's job to say, your mother packed that lunch, you have to eat that lunch. And I was like, okay, that made me feel better in regards to saying to like Mr. Tanner and our teachers, do your best that you can in this situation. We're coming into a school year where we are all very divided. I think that the school has probably been divided. I mean, I've only been here for a year, but it sounds like for a really long time on many issues. And, that's my wish for you, Mr. Tanner, and for the rest of our teachers, that you can, that was just a little something that was said to me that helped me wrap my head around it, is that you can only be in control so much. And you can say, if your parents want you to wear your masks, make sure you listen to your parents, but it's not your job to enforce that all day long. And just like it's not your job to make sure they eat their peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So that's all, that was just something that helped me wrap my head around that component of it, because I hold our teachers in high regard, and it's a lot on your plate. And you're with the kids all day and have to, be in the middle of all of this. It's your job to teach them. It's not your job to diffuse all of this social angst and anxiety. Sorry, that's all I have.
Well, yeah, Nellie, I really appreciate that. The funny part of it is, though, as a lower grades teacher, there really is an expectation, and for the teacher to be sure that the students are eating are snacking lunch, and that helps the teacher on many different levels. So I just want to say I appreciate what you're saying. It's just adding the mask to that is becomes complex. Because teaching in the lower grades is very parental. There is a lot of, let me look at your lunchbox, and then, okay, why is your sandwich in the garbage can? Now you're hungry. It's to our own benefit as teachers, just to repeat myself, to make sure that they're eating or not eating, whatever needs to be done there. There's a lot of caring for the children. There really is. But adding the mask into that, again, just to repeat myself, and I apologize, it just takes it to another level of complexity. That we'll do the best we can with that.
There's going to be parents sending their kids to school wearing masks no matter what we do. And I think that teachers are already kind of being put in this uncomfortable position to be like mask enforcers for some parents. And I think it would be probably good for the board to say that teachers can do their best, but they shouldn't be like, it's not like a job requirement or a mandatory responsibility of the teachers to be mask enforcers for the parents. I don't think that's fair in a situation where masks are optional anyways, especially since it's kind of like the parents who send their kids to school wearing masks. It's just to kind of help mitigate spread. It's not like other places where it's like to stop spread. It's like all we're trying to do is slow things down. So it's just like anything helps. But I don't know. It just feels like it's putting teachers in a really difficult spot to be running around. And even when masks were required, teachers had a difficulty keeping the younger grades wearing masks. My 6-year-old kindergarten, she was always like they had their mask down, then they had their masks up, then their mask down, their masks up. It's just like they're little kids, and I think it would be like teachers can do their best, but I don't think I don't know how you'd even hold them responsible, and I think it's unfair for parents to do that.
All right. Well, how about this? I'll make a motion, and I'm going to try and word this right. So I will move that Desert Marigold School strongly recommend that all members of the school follow the guidelines issued by CDC, Maricopa County Health, and the Arizona Department of Education regarding COVID-19 mitigation strategies, including the use of masks. Provided, however, that teachers will have no expectation to enforce any individual family's choice regarding mask wearing.
Second.
Can we also add in there that even though we're strongly recommending it, it's up to the family to make a decision as to what they feel is best for their family?
Yes, we can revise the motion, and then we'll need another second. So, April, can you tack on to the end of that motion? And provided that it is ultimately up to individual families to choose whether to use masks or not. Nellie, does that capture your sentiment?
Yes. Thank you.
Gregory, I have a question.
Yes.
Should the words "at this time" be in there? Because 3 weeks from now, we don't know, the governor's edict could change. And I don't want someone reading back our email to us saying, you said I had a choice. So at this time kind of determines that means today. That if something happens in this state like is happening in Florida, we all might have to spin on a dime.
Yeah, that's, I think, a good caveat to put it. So we can add "at this time" at the end. And April, if you could read back the whole thing to us so we know what the heck this motion says.
Okay, give me 1 second to compile it because it's in 3 different sections. You want "at this time" to be at the end?
Either at the very end or actually probably better at the very beginning.
Okay. Oh my gosh, there's like 0 punctuation in here. I promise I'll fix it. Okay. let me try and read this. Okay. Gregory Schneider moved that at this time, DMS strongly recommend that all members of the school follow the guidelines issued by CDC, Maricopa County Health Department, and ADE regarding COVID-19 mitigation strategies, including the use of masks, provided, however, that teachers will have no expectation to enforce any individual family's choice regarding mask wearing, and provided that it is ultimately up to individual families to choose whether to use masks or not.
Oh, what lawyer wrote that? Anyway, I hope that was at least relatively comprehensible. All right, so can I have a second on that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kirsten. Any further discussion?
Well, it sounds like families have a decision to make, but that faculty doesn't. Is that how that I interpreted that correctly?
We can't.
Nope.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah.
I mean, it's
We can't.
again with the verbiage, it says
Do we want to
families
just change
can
it to
decide.
individuals instead of individual families?
Oh, that's a good touch.
Yeah,
I'll just take out the word family. Because earlier you said like the members of the school. So,
yeah.
okay, you want me to read it again?
Yes, please.
Yeah, you better.
Okay.
You guys are really making me work tonight. Okay. Gregory Schneider moved that at this time, DMS strongly recommend that all members of the school follow the guidelines issued by the CDC, Maricopa County Health Department, and ADE regarding COVID-19 mitigation strategies, including the use of masks, provided, however, that teachers will have no expectation to enforce any individual's choice regarding mask wearing, and provided that it is ultimately up to individuals to choose whether to use masks or not.
All right, so with the revision, we need a second again.
I'll second again.
Thank you, Kristen. All right, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor? That looks like 5 in favor, or sorry, 6 in favor, if I counted that right. All those opposed? All right, so that's everyone in favor except Danielle, who opposed, and the motion carries. So now we need to figure out how to convey this to the community. April, since you had all that literature kind of at your fingertips, would you be willing to take a first stab at a community-wide message on this topic and circulate it to the board?
Sure.
April, I'd be happy to review and have some of the people in the medical community review it that are dealing with keeping track of all this stuff as well, if you'd want.
Okay. Yes, please fact check me. I'd appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for a thorough and thoughtful discussion. Much appreciated. Okay, Frank, we're back to you. How's preparation going for the first week of school?
Well, we're got lots of people moving in lots of directions and crossing paths, and we're getting the campus ready. We did tree trimming. We're setting up the air purifiers in the classrooms. We had the bug people out this week to do all the spraying to kill any spiders or black widows or you name it that's in classrooms. We are doing a final irrigation before Wednesday. We did that today. Even though we've had lots of rain, we want to make sure that the place is just so green, and it is. It looks amazing. We've done, oh my goodness, we've painted classrooms. We've put up a white fence. I know I'm a little biased, but a lot of people who talk to me have been given wonderful feedback on how pretty it makes the site look. We have the wall, the broken fence by the high school has been torn down and the wall is built. It's getting stuccoed and painted Friday and Saturday, and the RV gate will be going in on Friday and Saturday. We're moving forward on the bathrooms for the adults at the high school, and we're moving forward on the wood shop. The slab is first, and then the metal frame. So all of those little projects we had planned, one step at a time, they are happening. We have done some fact checking. Dr. Darian has been great in working with Jean to figure out just how many of our classrooms have the proper teacher editions for math and English. And the classrooms that didn't have the proper ones, we have taken the time to order those books for our staff. We swear we used to have those. Somehow they have disappeared. We will do a much better job at the end of the year. We are going to ask teachers to check those into us so that they can't disappear anymore, because they are expensive books and we want to keep them from year to year. So we're working on some curriculum things as well. We are done with all the hires. Everybody is hired and we have all the aides and all the staff in place. Luis Camacho came in over the summer and repaired all of the benches and half of the picnic tables. He couldn't get to all of them. I don't know if you know, we have like 58 picnic tables. So he got to about 30 of them. And that means fixing legs, sanding down, and putting new varnish on them. And so we'll do the second half of that next summer. But we feel really good about making those improvements to those benches and picnic tables for our kids to sit on at lunch. And it looks really nice as well. It's just been very busy and we're not done. We've got all kinds. Tomorrow's the first meeting for all new staff. Friday is a big teacher meeting. And also on Monday, we have lots of trainings on things like 403B plans and sexual harassment and emergency protocols and all the things that schools need to do to make sure everybody's on the same page as we start a school year. I know everybody's very excited. We can't wait for kids to get on campus. Those of you who know what I'm talking about, a kid coming on campus changes everything. It just does. Everybody's face lights up and we're ready for some lighten up of faces. We'd like to see that. Our summer teacher training went wonderfully. Thank you again to Michelle and Parent Council for paying for that. We had 10 from our own campus that went through it. It was awesome. And we are going to do it again next year. I'm already planning that and utilizing Joan to help me with that again. And our contemplation exercise. We had our last official meeting. And overall, dialogue has been great and people are opening up. And I know that was the first goal, was for people to truly talk and listen. And I would say the listening has been taking place and we feel really good about that moving forward.
Thank you. That is a lot of exciting news on many different fronts. Mr. Tanner, go ahead.
Mr. Maurizio, I wanted to thank you for the state of the campus. It's the best it's looked in many, many years. I wanted to not steal your fire, but certainly wanted to publicly thank Mr. Paulo and Hector for their hard work this summer. And the place is really, it's looking really good. And I thank you for that.
Thank you, Mr. Tanner. And since we're on thank yous, I have forgotten to thank a couple parents who have been nothing short of a savior in the last 2 weeks. We hired a first grade teacher. His name is Mr. Rustin Passage, and he was an ex-Marigold student many years ago. And two of our parents really stepped up and went in and helped him set his room up. They painted it and lazured it and even cut out wood trim for the blackboard and wood trim for the windowsills. And it seems like there's wood trim everywhere. And I want to thank Nina Prang for all of her work and support for our new teacher, and Kristen Ziegenbein for all of her work and support for our new teacher, and Nina's two lovely daughters, one who's in 8th grade, who was there every day helping, and one who is in college to be an early childhood teacher. She's training to be. And I appreciate those 4 ladies' help, and so does Mr. Rustin Patrick. If you see them, please thank them. They really went above and beyond.
All right. Well, thank you again on behalf of the board for all of your hard work, Frank, and to all of the people you just thanked. We really appreciate it. The school couldn't do it without you. This team effort is what makes the magic happen.
I agree.
I want to continue on the thank you path as well. Thank you to each of you as board members. Thank you to everyone who's present watching. Thank you, Frank. Thank you to our faculty and staff. It's a proud feeling to be a part of such a great thing we're doing.
Right. Well, since Frank brought it up, the next thing on our agenda is discussing the contemplation exercise and any next steps that we need to take. Danielle and Mr. Tanner, we talked about some steps that we were going to take last meeting, and I think we've implemented some of them already, including doing a board retreat, which happened this morning, inviting Michelle Krasner to our meetings. Michelle, we are very happy to have you here every evening on board meetings. Thank you for putting in the time. We talked about having a town hall as a way of having more of a dialogue, an open dialogue with folks. And let's see, I'm forgetting what else we talked about, but where are we in terms of what else needs to happen? What are things we haven't done yet that are still up for discussion?
Are you talking in general, like the supplies list on the website that I was trying to get going and kind of stalled out on and need to pick back up, or?
No, specifically the results of the contemplation exercise. And so there were some specific asks of the board. So two other ones that we talked about doing. We're having Joan Treadaway meet with us once a month at the beginning of our meetings to guide us in some Waldorf education. And then another one was having another education session with a state representative about the open meeting laws and being a board member and, you know, a public charter school and what that means and things we need to be aware of.
So there was a total of 8 items on my list, according to my notes, with the board reinforcement pillar section. One of them was either a statement or communication, just acknowledging some of the things that have occurred or the perceptions. And we talked about a town hall, but we haven't set a date yet. So do we know, are we waiting for Frank to show us, offer up a few dates, or is that something we can do? Is that now?
That was my memory, was that Frank was going to get us some dates sometime after the school year started. That would be good, and that would not be a Saturday at 3:00.
And if I can ask now, do I have permission for most of you who've sent me your love story to send that to Laura to update for the website? Do we want to keep it as a written statement, or are some of us open to doing videos?
Would they prefer videos?
Yes, since we are working on face-to-face communication. But we can do a combination too, or...
I think videos might take some time. I don't know what setup has already been done in terms of like who's going to film, who's going to upload. So my thought is post the written ones that we have now, and then we can just churn out, you know, and change it over once we have those videos ready. I'm not video savvy at all, so I don't know what that will happen. But I know I've already written my statement, and I know that can go on the website.
And you've given me permission to share it, so thank you. But for anyone else have any reservations, or is that okay?
You have my permission, Danielle.
You have mine too.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Mine
you.
as well.
Thank you. And then we were going to again start. The first step would be town hall before we revisited public comment. Is that where we're at right now? Is that the first step?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay.
Is town hall going to be in person? I'm sorry, Danielle.
No. Thank you. This is the time.
Would the town hall, is the idea that the town hall would be in person?
I think ideally it would be in person to further the face-to-face communication, especially if we can do it in an evening time when it's cool enough outside to be outside or something like that. Or, you know, I'm just trying to not pack a bunch of people in a room. Consistent with mitigating COVID. But, you know, I think we could also try and set it up so that people can participate, or at least send questions in, and we can have a video camera covering it via Zoom with people in like a webinar format. Try and be as inclusive as we can.
Yeah, that sounds like a great plan. Yeah. And then I think you touched on everything else in how we would hold each other accountable, or making sure we. Yes, Frank.
I remember the one that asked if you could come up with a calendar to disperse people at events, board members at events, so that you're more visible out there and standing shoulder to shoulder and talking. And there's enough events that you can split those up amongst yourself.
Is that in a calendar format that can be shared with us?
Oh, I thought you have the calendar already with all the school events for the year. It's posted.
I do not, unless it's on the website. I saw
Yes,
it on
it's
the
on the
porch. It's not on the porch,
on
but
the
I
porch.
didn't get.
It's on the website.
I asked, and Bonnie wasn't in the office to print it out for me.
So, could we create a sign-up sheet for, you know, based on that calendar? Hopefully we can get 1 or 2 board members present at every event.
Do you want me to have one of the ladies in the office? I can have Bonnie send it to each of you so that you can put your initials on it and send it back, and then I'll disperse it to all of you so you can see who landed where.
Yeah, I mean,
Could we just do one semester at a time?
Yeah.
And then send another one out come November for second semester? Does that make sense? Because things can change.
Yeah, I think that's a good plan.
Okay.
If it doesn't happen within the next few days, I can let you know that I can definitely be at the rose ceremony.
That would be great. We'll need at least 2 at the rose ceremony. That would be great.
Just so we can have solidified people there now.
8:30 in the morning, the first day of school.
Is anyone else available to join Nellie for that?
I'll definitely be there. I already planned on attending, but
Let me have a
is
good
there
showing.
a formal is there a formal place that we are going to be in, or is it okay that we're dispersed out
It'll
on?
be right where the high school graduation was, in that nice little meadow there.
But I mean, us being there, did you want us in a particular format or just out and about?
I think at that type of an event, it's just you guys being there and saying hello to people and enjoying the event.
Okay,
Perfect.
There's no sneaking part at something like that, so.
Nice. Anything else we need to talk about on the contemplation right now?
Do we have someone looking into the state training and figuring out when we can do that? I don't know much about it or who we need to contact.
Yeah, if somebody can give me the contact information, I'm happy to reach out and try and coordinate that. I just don't have the info. Or if I do, I've lost it. Frank, do you know where we could get that information?
I'm sure, I'm confused whether it's through the actual Department of Ed or whether it's through the Arizona School Boards Association. I don't know who does the training. And I think there's a different school board for the Charter School Association, so I don't want to leave them out. Maybe it's them that because they have a different set of rules that have to be presented to us, I believe.
Right. Mr. Tanner, did you have?
It's possible Mr. Wabe might know. I believe he conducted a training at one point.
Okay.
Not to create more work, but he might be someone that would know the answer to that question.
Okay, I'll reach out to him and see if he can point us in the right direction. All right, anything else on the contemplation? Okay.
Thank you again to all the participants.
Yes, and especially to you, Danielle, and to you, Mr. Tanner, and to Frank. I know it was...
And Michelle.
And yes, and Michelle. I know it was a lot of work, and it was not just a few hours on a few mornings over the course of the summer. There was a lot that happened outside. So really appreciate you going the extra mile for the board and for the school. Okay, Michelle, could you tell us how things are going at Parent Council and anything we need to know about and anything you would like the board to do?
Yes. So Parent Council hasn't actually had any. We normally take the summer off and don't have meetings during the summer. So we haven't had any meetings, but we are hoping to get together the leadership of Parent Council to set the dates and whatnot soon. Most likely we'll stick to the second Tuesday, whether it'll be morning or afternoon, or if we're switching on and off like we have before, that would be decided within the leadership. And then also whether we're going to be in person or continue on Zoom. Again, that might be just depending on what the leadership feels, and then maybe we'll switch doing both, but most likely we will still have a Zoom going on if we are in person, so others can still participate. We are recruiting for secretary. We lost our secretary, moved away. So if we know anybody, you know anybody, we'd love to have you. And then I just wanted to a couple of important dates that I know we're going to be working on for a while now is the barbecue is set for September 29th, which is also Michaelmas Day. And then, so that is normally a student, we feed the students type of thing. And then also Winter Fair is December 11th. So mark your calendars. And I think that's it.
Thank you, Michelle. Questions for Michelle, anyone?
Michelle, I emailed Parent Council this morning. Do you guys need any help for Friday or Monday in moving food along for the teachers that are in school?
So Friday we have covered. Laura and I are picking up lunch, and Danielle is helping us with tea. So we will put her amazing tea together on Friday. I am not sure about Monday. That might be a question for Frank.
Monday, the staff is having lunch on their own. Friday, I'm providing it, but Monday they're on their own to get things done and eat in their room and go off with a couple of people who are close with them, that type of thing.
Okay, I just wanted to put myself out there if you needed an extra body around to help clean up or set up or anything like that. I'm available.
Thank you. Val.
Thank you.
Great. Well, that takes us to our last agenda item, approving the minutes from our last meeting. I will move to approve the minutes for our July 14th, 2021 meeting.
I'll second.
Second.
Okay,
Thank you, Chris.
3 seconds.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor? That is,
I didn't get to read them, so I don't want to
got
vote
it.
on them.
Okay. So 6 in favor, all those abstaining? That would be Nellie? Okay, all right. So 6 in favor, Nellie abstaining, the motion carries. All right, that is the end of our agenda this evening, so I will move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. All right. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that one is unanimous. All right. Thanks, everybody. We will see you August 18th. Have a great week, couple of weeks, and Frank, good luck on the first week of school.
Thank
Closing
you.
verse.
Tanner,
You
too.
all a drop off.
Thank you.
Gregory, we asked Dan
closing
to read
verse?
the closing verse.
Oh,
Yeah.
Closing verse.
thank you, Dan. And thank you, April. Go ahead.
The most important task for humankind today and in the future is that we should learn to live together and understand one another. If this human fellowship is not achieved, all talk of development is empty. Rudolf Steiner.
Perfect. Thanks so much. Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.